The WTO, or World Trade Organization, is an international organization established to supervise and liberalize world trade. It defines itself as the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations, and is based in Geneva, Switzerland. WTO was founded in 1995 and is one of the youngest international organizations. Its multilateral trading system is, however, over a half-century old, as the WTO is the successor to the General Agreement on Trades and Tariffs, also known as Gatt. Gatt was established in Geneva in 1947 with an agreement regarding quotas and tariffs on merchandise trade, negotiated by 23 countries. It was created with the expectation that it would soon be replaced by a specialized agency of the United Nations, UN, to be called the International Trade Organization, or ITO. Although the ITO never materialized, Gatt proved remarkably successful for the next 5 decades, with approximately 130 members. By the late 1980s, however, there were calls for a stronger multilateral organization to monitor trade and resolve trade disputes, as Gatt was the only major agreement governing international trade. Following the completion of the 1986 to 1994 Uruguay round of multilateral trade negotiations, the WTO began its operations. Numerous trade agreements and all contracting parties went directly from Gatt to WTO. By the early 21st century, the WTO had more than 140 members. According to the WTO itself, by mid-2008, the organization had 153 members. This includes China, India, the Republic of Korea, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. There are also approximately 30 observers, which include Iran, Iraq, and the Russian Federation. With exception to the Holy See, also known as the Vatican, all observers must begin accession negotiations within 5 years of becoming observers. Some notable absentees from the members list are Syria and North Korea. The goal of WTO is to improve the welfare of the peoples of the member countries. Its main objective is to help trade flow smoothly, freely, fairly, and predictably by administering trade agreements, acting as a forum for trade negotiations, settling trade disputes, reviewing national trade policies, assisting developing countries in trade policy issues through technical assistance and training programs, and coordinating with other international organizations. The organization's desired outcome of reaching this objective is assurance. Assurance entails that consumers and producers know that they can enjoy secure supplies and a greater choice of the finished products, components, raw materials, and services that they use. Assurance also allows producers and exporters to know that foreign markets will remain open to them. Aside from assurance, this objective, when achieved, also results in a more prosperous, peaceful, and accountable economic world. Unlike the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, the WTO is run by its member governments. All major decisions are made by the membership as a whole and are taken by consensus. The highest level of the decision-making body is the Ministerial Conference. This is composed of representatives from all WTO members. They meet every 2 years. Their most recent gathering was in Geneva from November 30th to December 2nd of 2009. The second level is the General Council. This normally consists of ambassadors and heads of delegations. This council handles the day-to-day work in between the ministerial conferences and also meets as the trade policy review body and the dispute settlement body in order to analyze members' trade policies and settle disputes between members. The third level consists of the Council for Trade in Goods, also known as the Goods Council, the Council for Trade and Services, or the Services Council, and the Council for Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights, or TRIPS Council. These do just as their names indicate, and are responsible for the workings of the WTO agreements. dealing with their respective areas of trade. Finally, there are specialized committees, working groups, and working parties, which deal with the individual agreements and other areas such as the environment, trade and development, investment and competition policy, transparency in government procurement, membership and administration, trade facilitation, and regional trade agreements. When WTO rules impose disciplines on countries' policies, these are in fact the outcome of negotiations among WTO members. An appropriate analogy for the WTO's role in policymaking was brought about in a radio show, which was very actively suggesting that the WTO should do this or do that, when one of the hosts said, "WTO is the round table in a meeting. The table, WTO, houses the negotiations and enables leaders to have equal opportunities to discuss and render solutions. But other than that, what do you expect the table to do?" Therefore, the rules of trade are enforced by the members themselves under agreed procedures. Reaching decisions by consensus among more than 150 members is not an easy task. However, it is beneficial in that decisions are then more acceptable to all members. The WTO has been relatively successful in reaching its aim of improving the welfare of the peoples of the member countries. It has been able to achieve its main objective of helping trade flow smoothly, freely, fairly, and predictably, creating assurance. This has therefore resulted in a more prosperous, peaceful, and accountable economic world. Chart 1, shows that increasing world GDP is linked with even greater growth in international trade. Something to be noted is that traded intermediate goods are accounted in the GDP through value added at each step in the production process. However, in the merchandise trade data, the intermediate goods are counted at full value when exported. This is one reason for the higher fluctuations in trade volumes. Further details can be seen in Chart 2, which shows that exports have often exceeded the GDP, except for a few years, like 2008, which is undoubtedly due to the global crisis and recession. The WTO has gone through a long and arduous process to create rule-based trade policies. This is illustrated by the WTO's World Tariff Profiles 2009 report of the main tariff parameters of the 153 members. Achieving this level of agreement is no doubt evidence of success of the WTO. For the WTO, there are also successes and failures regarding trade as a solution to the global crisis, aid for trade, and climate change. Trade as a solution to the global crisis. The fact that WTO is a long-standing respected forum is an achievement in itself, which allows an avenue of relief in the face of the global crisis. Director General Pascal Lamy, in 2009, warned members against sliding down a slippery slope of tit-for-tat protectionist measures. By promoting trade, the countries will be able to rebuild their economies and move on the path to recovery. Aid for trade. In Peru 2007, Latin American and Caribbean countries collaborated to review measures to strengthen aid flows to the region. By 2007, total aid for trade flows had increased by 20% from this benchmark. And finally, climate change. Although WTO has attempted to reach a consensus on trading only low greenhouse gas emission products, this has not been successful. As a result, this issue will be discussed in Copenhagen in December 2009 at the United Nations Climate Change Conference. Thank you.